Economy here in the two Virginias. There's a new law in the Mountain State that gives a green light to dairy farmers to sell raw milk. Now, if you're wondering what that means, we sent a team into Monroe County to Bellevue Dairy Farm. It's our Abby Lester who's taking a closer look at how milk is processed and the difference between processed and raw cow milk.
Recently, House Bill 4911 passed in West Virginia, allowing the sale of raw cow milk. Raw cow milk is unpasteurized milk, meaning that it has not been heated to 161 degrees for 15 seconds to kill bacteria.
Pasteurizing has been around since the mid-1800s. We know it kills bacteria. The bacteria that we're focusing on with pasteurization is basically very common bacteria.
With the bill being passed, those choosing to sell raw milk must include a label stating unpasteurized raw milk, name, physical address of seller, date of production, and the following statement. Consuming unpasteurized raw milk may increase your risk of foodborne illness, especially for children, elderly, autoimmune compromised individuals, and persons with certain medical conditions. Being one of 25 dairy farms in West Virginia, Bellevue Dairy continues to push forward to help the community prosper.
There's some data out there from University of Wisconsin that actually shows that dairy cows can generate as much as $25,000 per cow of money that's going back into the communities.
Here in the milking parlor, the steps that are taken to make sure that your milk is safe to drink is a very detailed process. The milking process begins with a pre-dipped cleaning solution before the cows are hooked up to the milking machine. Once the cow has been milked, they are then dipped with a post-dipped iodine solution that helps to prevent bacteria.
Everything we try to do is, try to decrease bacteria counts and any risk there.
Every other day, milk that is stored and chilled to 37 degrees is picked up and transferred to be pasteurized. It will be tested to see the bacteria levels and make sure that numbers are safe before being pasteurized. Because of no ramifications on House Bill 4911, those who choose to sell raw milk are not required to test it for bacteria before selling it to a customer who chooses to consume it. It is advised before choosing to consume raw milk to understand what the testing process looks like, because consumption can come with risk dealing with sickness or even death. Here for you in Monroe County, I'm Abby Lester, WVVA News.
Insightful. Thank you for that report, Abby. Now, if you're interested in where your milk comes from, make sure you look at the carton. The numbers beside the expiration date correspond to the state and the farm unit number. The state of West Virginia's number is 54, and over in the Commonwealth, that number is 51. Ben